How's it going, folks? Welcome to another episode of Noteworthy in the NCAA here on the Empty the Bench Network. I'm your host, Will Charlton. Thanks for tuning in on this Monday. And man, oh man, it has been the college basketball season is it's officially getting into high gear now as March is right around the corner. Football is officially over, and now it's college basketball's time to shine. So before I get into it, make sure you follow us across all social media platforms at ETB Network. That's on Instagram, Twitter, X, TikTok, whatever it may be. Make sure to follow my show, the Forever Power 5 podcast at FP5ETB on Twitter, X, and Instagram. And then on TikTok at Forever Power 5, no capture spaces. You can follow me on Twitter at Will Charlton H13, and then on TikTok and Instagram at Will Charlton TV. Make sure to watch all of our Empty the Bench shows on youtube.com/ETB Network. Now, before we get into talking about college basketball, there is some major college football news that struck the FBS landscape just today. And it is that FCS powerhouse, North Dakota State, will be making the jump up to the FCS and will be joining the Mountain West as a football-only member. North Dakota State, I believe, has won 10 FCS national championships since 2011. And they have just been dominant in the FCS for the longest time. They've gotten a few FBS wins as well, almost beat Colorado. I believe the game was last year, if I'm not mistaken, not this season, but the season prior. They beat Iowa one time in an FBS showdown on the road. So North Dakota State has taken its talents to the Mountain West, where this is going to be interesting. This is real interesting. They had nothing left to prove in the FCS, and now they're making the jump up to the FBS, and they're paying $5 million as a school to make the jump to the Mountain West, and then $12 million to make the jump to the FBS. So North Dakota State's reign of terror in the FCS is officially over, as they are now going to be an FBS school. And I'll be very curious to see how this plays out, because when you look at North Dakota State, they were just dominant in that Missouri Valley Football Conference in the FCS for the longest time. And then they got upended in a crazy upset this year by Illinois State in the playoffs, 29-28. Illinois State ended up going to the FCS National Championship game where it lost to Montana State. But the Bison they were undefeated this year before the Illinois State game. If I'm not mistaken, their quarterback got hurt in the game against Illinois State. I'm pretty sure that was the case. But this is a really interesting move for the Bison. And I think it's only going to be one that of them, because it's going to be so interesting to see like how they adapt. And when you look at their success they've had though lately, they're going to be playing relatively similar, not relatively similar competition, but like just above what they've been playing. Because it's not like the Mountain West is some powerhouse conference by any means. I mean, they'll be playing Hawaii, Air Force, Northern Illinois now that they joined the Mountain West as a football-only member. I'm trying to remember who else is, because the Mountain West is basically becoming the Pac-12 next year. So UNLV, Nevada, I believe those two teams are still in the Mountain West. Air Force will still be in the Mountain West. I might have said them already though. But regardless, they're playing teams that are not impossible to beat by any means. Like if you put North Dakota State healthy last year on a field against any of those Mountain West teams, they have a chance to win that game. I'm not saying they would for sure win, but they definitely have a chance to, win that game and make some noise as well. And when you're looking at like the Bison, for instance, and trying to compare them to recent FCS to FBS moves, look at James Madison. James Madison has had nothing but success in the FBS. I believe they made a bowl game every year they've been able to. They just made the college football playoff as a champion of the Sun Belt. Sam Houston hasn't had that good of a transition yet. They haven't really done too much. Let's see Jacksonville State, same deal. Nothing too much for them. They've been pretty solid, but they haven't really had a crazy amount of success yet. And then what are some other teams that have made the jump lately? think those are the three that really come to mind as of late. But that being said, I do think it is a really fun move for the Bison to do this, and it's going to be really fun to see how they compete in the Mountain West, because I think they will be successful. I mean, they had nothing left to prove in the FCS. They've won all sorts of national titles, and now they're going to be a team that could very well be a playoff contender in the handful of next years. They can't be in a bowl game technically till 2028 because they have that like 2-year transition period, I guess they call it, where you're ineligible for a bowl game or something like that. So that'll be interesting to keep track of and see how they kind of do in these 2 years. But they technically could still make a bowl game if there's not enough eligible teams in the next 2 years. So if there's not enough eligible teams or a team opts out, then they could slide in and beat the next team that makes the bowl game. But we'll see how the Bison do. It's going to be really interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing their schedule. And that Fargo Dome is going to be pretty electric for Mountain West games. So that's a pretty fun move to make. But yeah, so that's the really big college football news of the day, because that they just announced it today officially that they're joining the Mountain West today. So that's a big news. But now let's switch over to some college basketball. College basketball is like I said, it's officially the sports time. I mean, these next 8 weeks or so are college basketball heavy, and before you know it, I believe it was 5 weeks from yesterday that there will be a bracket. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch some of these college basketball games coming up. But there are a lot of good games this past week, and we'll start on Monday night. There was another really good Monday night game last week, and so Texas Tech and Kansas. That's the game. Yeah, Texas Tech and Kansas. I knew it was Kansas. I'm trying to remember who they played. Yeah, it was Texas Tech. So Texas Tech is controlling this game. I mean, it's going well for them. They have a lead in the second half. I believe they're up double figures. Yeah, they're up 55-45 late, and then it became the Darren Peterson show. I mean, it became the Darren Peterson show. Peterson hit 2 of the coldest 3-pointers like in the final minute that he possibly could. I mean, it was nuts. It was insane, the 3-pointers he hit. Darren Peterson is a stud, absolute stud. And seeing Kansas win that game, and the Jayhawks are playing some damn good basketball now. They cracked the top 10 this week and have a massive game tonight at home against undefeated Arizona. That game's going to be cinema. And just seeing Darren Peterson go off in that game, I mean, when he's healthy, Kansas is just a different animal. I mean, he had 19 points on 5 of 14 shooting against Texas. And this was on the road at a very tough place to play in United Supermarkets Arena. Kansas is playing some damn good basketball right now. Tonight's game against Arizona is going to be huge. So big win for Kansas there on Monday night. Miami of Ohio just keeps on winning and winning. They won another 2 games last week on the road. They beat Buffalo on the road, which is a big win for them. And only by 2, though. Only by 2. Miami of Ohio hung on that one. They're now 24-0 after a win at Marshall on Saturday. The game was at Marshall. So the Red Hawks, shout out to the Red Hawks, one of the coolest stories out there right now. Them in St. Louis, 2 of the really fun stories. St. Louis still only a 1-loss team too. They're 23-1 now. I believe it's a record 23-1. 23-1 after they won 2 more games in conference on this week. How about Portland beating Gonzaga? Portland, the Pilots. Portland beats Gonzaga. Their guard Foxwell for Portland, 27 points and 8 assists in that game. They win that one 87-80. I think they said it was the first time Portland's ever beat a top 10 team in program history. And this is a 10-14 team going in to this game. So Gonzaga has suffered a really, really bad loss. It might even be a quad 4. I don't know if it's that low, but it's at least a quad 3. So that's going to hurt Gonzaga's tournament resume big time. Yeah, that was a bad loss for Gonzaga. Really bad loss. Really, really bad loss. And they still didn't slide down in the rankings that much. Like they went from 6 to, 14, I believe it is. We'll get into the AP poll in a little bit here. Minnesota upset Michigan State on Wednesday night. That was a pretty fun game. That was wild to see Minnesota win that game and hold off the Michigan State comeback. Michigan State made it really close at the end. So big win for the Gophers. That kind of kept Michigan State in that right where they're at 10 this week. Oklahoma State beat BYU. The Cougars have now lost 4 straight games after starting 5-0 in conference. And Oklahoma State scored 99 points, 58 in the second in that game. So even though DeBonsa put up 36 points, it wasn't enough to beat the Pokes on the road. Big win for the Cowboys there, who are 16-6 now. And then on Thursday night, nothing too crazy happened there. Friday night was the game I wanted to get to. UConn at St. John's. It was tied at 39 at halftime, but then St. John's ended up winning by 9, 81-72. Huge night for Zuby Ejiofor, 21 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists. Near triple-double for Ejiofor. He had a fantastic night. Big win for St. John's, who only has 1 loss in the Big East, so they'll meet again. They do play each other again, but that's a big win for St. John's at Madison Square Garden on Friday night. The Red Storm are playing some pretty good basketball now. I mean, they had a pretty average start to the year, but they've really kind of emerged as a team that could start making some noise possibly. I mean, Rick Pitino's squads always play tough. They're always tough teams to take down. So it'll be interesting to see how St. John's does the rest of the way. But that win alone gives them a chance to for that rematch game against UConn to be for the Big East regular season title and the 1 seed in that conference tournament. So big win for St. John's on Friday night, and just an insane amount of good games on Saturday. Duke, North Carolina. The Blue Devils are leading this game by 12 at halftime. They lead the entire way. Well, they don't lead the entire way, but they lead for 37 and a half minutes of this game. Never trail until the final buzzer when Seth Trimble hits a corner 3 to seal the game, and North Carolina wins 71-68. Pandemonium at the Dean Dome. Huge win for North Carolina. I picked them to win the game earlier in the week, and the Tar Heels needed that one because they had been kind of scraping by some teams they shouldn't be scraping by. So that's a huge win for the Tar Heels. And Caleb Wilson and company continue to show that they're not a team that can be messed with. Wilson at 23 points, but Boozer still had a great game. Cam Boozer 24 and 11. But Seth Trimble shot. North Carolina wins it on Seth Trimble making a game-winning 3. That was electric. Houston beats BYU. Like I said, the Cougars, that includes their 4th straight loss. They're losing at home to Houston. Houston's playing some damn good ball right now. Controlled that game. They win that one 77-66. Big win for the Cougars, who are getting hot at the right time. I believe I just saw a stat that said their record since they joined the Big 12 in conference games is like 54-5 or something like that. Remarkable. Just remarkable what Kelvin Stamps has done for that Houston program and what they've done in the Big 12 specifically. Incredible performance for Houston to get that win. Like I said, Miami, Ohio, still 24-0, 90-74 at Marshall in the Sun Belt MAC Challenge. Oklahoma beat Vanderbilt on the road. Oklahoma is bad, and they're very bad, and they beat 15th ranked Vanderbilt on the road 92-91 after being up 14 at halftime. That's a bad loss for Vanderbilt, even though Tanner put up 37, but bad loss for Vanderbilt at home to Oklahoma. Bad loss. Purdue scrapes by Oregon at home 68-64. Oregon was giving them a real tough time. Purdue's been playing some really interesting ball lately. Like, they got to figure out their ball screen action, and they got to figure out how to switch better because teams have been kind of exposing that lately with the losses to Illinois, especially when Keaton Wagler put up 46 against them. They had that problem against Indiana and lost in Bloomington, and they had some trouble, obviously, with Oregon in that game as well. And Nate Biddle went to work in the paint for Oregon. He had 23 in that loss, but Oregon's really bad. I mean, Oregon has one of the worst teams they've had in recent memory, and they almost went on the road and beat Purdue. So pretty interesting game there. Purdue's got a lot to figure out if they want to make a run in March. Iowa State hangs on against Baylor, a pretty bad Baylor team this year, 72-69. And then one of the games of the day, Illinois at Michigan State, went to overtime. Illinois had to sink 2 free throws with 1 second left to force overtime. Jake Davis did that, and then Michigan State hangs on by 3 in overtime. Illinois had a shot to tie the game so Keaton Waller goes up, hits an NBA range 3, down 6. They're down 3 then. Illinois then gets the steal. Keaton Waller gets the steal, and he doesn't decide to shoot it, which is pretty surprising. I'm sure he's probably kicking himself about that still. And instead, it's Zvonimir Ivasic who takes the 3, and it wasn't even close as time expired. And Michigan State hangs on for an 85-82 win, breaking Illinois' 12-game winning streak. And I'll tell you what, this was the first game that Illinois really missed Kylan Boswell, because Jeremy Fears Jr. had 26 points and 15 assists. Fears wouldn't have had nearly that good of a night if Boswell was playing. So this is the first game that you could safely say Illinois missed Boswell a lot. Keaton Wagler had one of his worst performances of the season, and Illinois still only lost by 3. I believe Illinois as a team only shot like 34% from the field too, and managed to stay right there with Michigan State. Bad night shooting for the Illini, and only lose by 3 on the road against Michigan State. It's not, if you're Illinois, you can't be too mad of it. Davin Mirkovic, nice game, 18 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. But Illinois has got 2 chances to get right this week against Indiana and Wisconsin. Wisconsin Tuesday, Indiana on Sunday. And the Illini will be just fine. But, yeah, pretty busy week in college basketball. So with that, let's talk about the new AP poll that just came out. And not a whole lot of movement at the top once again. I got to make sure I get this up here so I can know what I'm talking about. So, yeah, Arizona stays number 1, still the unanimous number 1. Actually, I shouldn't say there's a lot of movement at the top. There was. Michigan stays number 2. Houston jumps from 8 to 3. So, huge jump for Houston this week. Now the number 3 ranked team in the country. Duke drops to 4. Actually, Duke stays put at 4. Duke was 4 last week, too. They stay put at 4. UConn drops down to 6. Iowa State at the 7. Nebraska jumps Illinois after Illinois beat them couple weekends ago now. Nebraska 7, Illinois drops to 8 after being number 5 last week following the loss to Michigan State. I'm not really too sure why Nebraska jumped Illinois, but I mean, Illinois does have 4 losses. Nebraska only has 2, so that's probably why. And Nebraska beat Illinois head-to-head in Champaign early in the year. Kansas cracks the top 25. They're number 9 now, jumping up from number 11 last week. Michigan State stays put at 10 after a 1-1 week and a loss to Minnesota on the road, but beating Illinois at home. North Carolina up to 11 after the win over Duke and beating Syracuse over the week. Gonzaga dropping to 12 is a head scratcher. How do you only drop to 12? Because, look, I know that Kentucky's been on the rise. I mean, Kentucky's back in the rankings now. They've been winning a lot of games in the SEC play. Gonzaga just lost to Portland. I don't know how you can still rank them number 12. Like, I get it's probably a fluke. I get that. But the fact that Gonzaga only dropped to 12 after losing a quad 3 game, maybe even a quad 4, not a good look. Not a good look. I think Gonzaga is – I look at this poll and I still see a handful of teams who I'd rank ahead of them. I'd rank Purdue ahead of them. I'd rank Florida ahead of them. I'd rank Virginia ahead of them. I'd still rank Texas Tech ahead of them. St. John's, I'm not sold if I would yet. I wouldn't rank St. Louis ahead of them. I don't know how Vanderbilt's still 19. I mean, Vanderbilt should be Vanderbilt shouldn't even be ranked after they lost to Oklahoma this week at home. Somehow Vanderbilt's still 19. Clemson 20. I'd probably rank Gonzaga ahead of them. So yeah, I think the 5 teams behind Gonzaga, you have arguments to rank all of them ahead. If I were doing the poll this week, I'd put Gonzaga in the 18 to 20 range. They would not be in my top 15. They wouldn't even sniff it. They'd be in the 18 to 20 range. Arkansas 21. BYU drops to 22. BYU might find themselves out of the rankings soon. I'm sure there's a handful of voters who left them out of the polls this week too, just because of the skid they've been on. Miami of Ohio stays at 23 with their undefeated record. Louisville 24, Kentucky 25. So if I was doing the AP poll this week, I like the top 4. I think the top 4 is fine. I like Iowa State at 5, UConn at 6. I would flip-flop Illinois, Nebraska. I put Illinois at 7, Nebraska at 8. I like Kansas at 9. I put Michigan State at 11. I think they deserve to drop down one spot. I think North Carolina should be number 10. I'd have Florida at 12. I'd have Purdue at 13 where they are. I'd have Virginia at 15. I'd have Texas Tech at 15, Virginia at 16. I like where St. John's at 17. I'd have St. John's there. I think I'd rank St. John's ahead of Gonzaga. So I'd have St. John's at 17, Gonzaga at 18. I'd put St. Louis at 19. I would put Arkansas at 20, Clemson at 21, Miami at 22, Louisville at 24, BYU at 20. Sorry, Louisville at 23, BYU at 22, and Kentucky's fine at 25. If I was just rearranging the teams that are in the top 25, but the poll looks pretty decent. I mean, just Gonzaga being as high as they are is still my only gripe with it. I think that's a little bit too much. So let's get into some games to watch this week and some of my picks. It starts tonight with a game at Fog Allen Fieldhouse. Arizona visiting Kansas. Kansas is playing some really good ball. Arizona is favored by 2.5 in this game. I got to roll with the Jayhawks here. I got to pick the Jayhawks to win this game at home. Arizona has been phenomenal. They just annihilated Oklahoma State on Saturday by, what was it, like 30-something? 37. They beat Oklahoma State at home by 37. Well, the way Kansas is playing right now, man, at Fog Allen Fieldhouse in front of that raucous crowd, I got to take the Jayhawks to pull off this upset. I think Arizona loses its first game of the season here tonight. Can they win? Absolutely. Will I be shocked if they win? Not at all. There's a reason they're favored still. Arizona is the best team in the country. And until proven otherwise, they will be. But I like Kansas to get this job. I like Kansas to get it done at home tonight. I really do. I think Kansas gets I think Darren Peterson hits a couple big shots down the stretch like he did against Texas Tech last Monday. And get this, Bill Self never lost on Big Monday. He's undefeated on Big Monday. He has never lost. So Arizona's perfect record going against Bill Self's perfect Big Monday record. Something's got to give tonight. So that game's going to be a lot of fun. Tomorrow night, on Tuesday, Purdue at Nebraska. Huge game in the Big Ten. This game is going to come down to how well both teams defend and how well they both shoot the three. Nebraska, if they can hit their shots, they should be able to win this game at home. But Purdue, the way Purdue's playing right now, Nebraska should be able to win this game. I do think Purdue is going to give them a really good game, but I think Nebraska does get this done at home. Rank Mass is getting healthier. He's getting back to his full strength. If Price Sanford can get open, hit the shots that he needs to, and Braden Frager can do the same thing, I think Nebraska is going to be able to win this game for sure. It should be a really good game, though. It's at 7 Eastern on FS1. This is going to be the game of the night tomorrow night. Very excited to see how this one goes down. But, yeah, I'm going to take the Huskers to get this one done at home in a very, very close game. Nebraska's only favored by 1.5. So I'm very excited to see how this game goes tomorrow night. I think it's going to be a barn burner. It's going to be a big one for Nebraska. Purdue, this is going to be another loss that hurts Purdue. It won't really cost them all too much, but it's 13-7. So I do like Nebraska to get that win at home tomorrow night against the Boilermakers. Any good games on Wednesday night? Nope. Friday night, I love this for Miami of Ohio. They got their first nationally televised game of the season on ESPN. They host their rival Ohio to go to look at 25-0 potentially. Man, that is going to be a fun one for those folks in Oxford. Miami of Ohio, 23rd ranked on national TV at home against Ohio. That place better be rocking. That place is going to be electric on Friday night. Small arena, it's going to be rocking. So pulling for the Red Hawks to get the win there on Friday night at home. Michigan State also goes to Wisconsin on Friday night. That should be an interesting game. Wisconsin's got a tough week. They go at Illinois and then host Michigan State. So the Badgers have a chance to really get back in the thick of things in the Big Ten standings if they can at least go 1-1 this week. I like the Badgers to win that game at home against Michigan State. I do. I even though Michigan State beat Illinois, I don't think Michigan State is. They're not like a team that can win a national title. They're not. So I like Wisconsin to get that win at home against Michigan State. on Friday night. Clemson at Duke on Saturday morning. That's one of the first games of the day. Duke should be able to win that one. But you know what's interesting about Clemson? They've won the last 19 road games played in conference. So Clemson's big-time road streak's being put to the test in Durham on Saturday morning. I think Clemson will give them a game, but I think Duke's just a little too much for Clemson, who's had a great year. I mean, Brad Burnell's done a hell of a job with that Clemson program, and that should be fun to watch. But I do think Duke's just that home court advantage is gonna be a little too much to handle for Clemson. So I like the Blue Devils to get that job done on Saturday morning. Kansas goes to Iowa State. So really tough week for the Jayhawks, hosting Arizona tonight and then on the road in Ames at Hilton Coliseum on Saturday morning. Give me the Cyclones in that game. Hilton Magic's real. The Cyclones just never lose there. So I like the Cyclones to win that game on the road in Hilton on Saturday morning against Kansas. But I wouldn't be shocked if Kansas wins. I really wouldn't. Kansas is playing some really, really good basketball right now. They have 5 losses, but they are playing some really, really good basketball right now. But give me the Cyclones in a close one. Florida hosting Kentucky. I like the Gators in that one. Ranked matchup at home for Florida. I like the Gators to get the job done there, 25-14. Texas Tech at Arizona. That should be a really fun one as well on ESPN on Saturday. Very excited for that one. But give me the Wildcats to get the win at home there. Let's see. That's about it for that on Saturday, all the main ring matchups that matter. And then on Sunday, the only game that has a ranked team in it is Indiana hosting Illinois. Give me the Illini in a Sunday matinee. I'll take the Illini over the Hoosiers in that one. So should be a really fun week of college basketball coming up. Like I said, it starts tonight. I do like a lot of the home teams to get the job done here this week. The only, I mean, there are a handful of games I could see the road team winning. Like I said, I wouldn't be shocked if Kansas beats Iowa State on the road on Saturday. I would not be shocked if Michigan State beats Wisconsin on Friday night. And then tomorrow night, I would not be shocked if Purdue beats Nebraska. But I am picking the home teams in each of those games. So thank you so much for watching Noteworthy in the NCAA this week. Appreciate you tuning in. Hope you like the show, and make sure to come back next Monday, same old time, and we'll be talking about some more college basketball and some other big news going around the college sports landscape. So thanks for tuning in. I'm Will Charlton. We'll see you next time.